This was a young male, somebody who could get into the house and get out in that neighborhood without being seen.
Someone who knew the victim or victims, knew the layout of the house, knew how to get entry into the house. There was no indication of forced entry. No.
I don't think it was two people, because the more people you have going into that house, the more likely it is that they were going to be seen. So I think it's one male, young enough to have been in that neighborhood.
He had to be somewhat confident.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Davies.
We're going to talk about stalking behavior by Bryan. So let's talk about stalking. And then we're going to talk about the Vans, shoe print, and Officer Brett Payne in just a moment. So please stay with me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Being aware of stalking behavior may save your life or the life of someone you know. So when a stalker picks his or her target, it's often someone who was in a past relationship with this person. That is not the case here. At first, when someone is stalking someone else, their conduct can seem somewhat normal and may not initially set off any type of alarms or raise any red flags, and the stalker might reach out several times giving unwanted attention. And we've heard about the DMs that Bryan allegedly sent on Instagram to either Xana, Maddie, or Kaylee. Now, Bryan is innocent until proven guilty, and he has not had his day in court yet. But initially, the stalker will seem pretty normal. But then it begins to escalate. Now, a lot of stalkers will spend several months online looking up any and all information that they can find on their person that they're fixated on. And after that, this person may move on to DMs, and this is where we do know about Bryan. Now, will we find out from the computer tower that was removed from Bryan's apartment, will we find out that he was indeed looking up either Kaylee, Maddie, and or Xana? So why do people stalk? Each type of stalker is seeking something specific from the person that they're watching. There are 5 types of stalkers, and let's see which one Bryan falls under. There's the rejected stalker, so they would have had a relationship with someone. That is not the case here. There's the resentful stalker. Again, there's no relationship, so nothing to get involved with here. There's the intimacy seeker. This is a maybe. He could have been seeking intimacy. And then there's the incompetent suitor. Now, this person is generally harmless, so I don't think this is the case. And then the 5th one is the predatory stalker, and I believe that Bryan falls under the predatory stalker type. And this is why. And tell me what you think in the comment section below. This type of person does not usually know the victim. They follow with an intent to physically harm and essay the victim. In fact, they're motivated by essay. Now, I know I'm going to get comments that Bryan didn't essay anyone. And again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But this is true. But there were things going on that night that whoever broke into the house, and I'm just going to say Bryan because he's been indicted, didn't expect. 1 was that Ethan was spending the night. 2, Kaylee was not supposed to be there. She had come into town with Murphy to visit. 3 was that DoorDash delivery that occurred around 4 a.m. for Xana. So I think he may have been surprised and taken back at what happened, and this may have caught him off guard. The reason I believe Bryan is a predatory stalker is because he didn't make himself known. He didn't call excessively or leave notes that we know of. And when this type of stalker is following a victim, they usually don't make themselves known. What do you guys think? Officer Brett Payne and his experience is being questioned, and I expect that BK's defense team will bring this up during the trial. Now, we're not sure how long he was employed by the Moscow PD prior to November 13th of 2022, but it looks like he was on the force and that he was hired in April of 2020, so maybe around 2 years. Moscow, Idaho has never had a crime like this one. In fact, a crime like this, I'm watching my words, where someone was done away with, had not been committed in Moscow in over 8 years. So The Moscow PD would have been aware that they had a low level of experience, and they immediately brought in the Idaho State Police and the FBI, and the FBI reportedly added an extra 30 agents to the Idaho student case. So let's also talk about the van's shoe print that was found outside Dylan's room. According to the affidavit, the van's shoe print found outside of Dylan's room had a, quote, diamond-shaped pattern, end quote, similar to a Vans-style shoe. The print was detected by using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, which is a protein stain. That was also used in an effort to detect the presence of cellular materials. Now, this is all according to the affidavit. Now, Vans are a fairly common type of sneaker, and despite the discovery of a shoe print at the crime scene, we don't know if law enforcement found a shoe at BK's apartment that matched the description of this Vans shoe print. Now, it is my belief that BK disposed of everything he wore that night. He is innocent until proven guilty, including the shoes, but the size of the shoes that left the print could be evidence in a circumstantial case. For example, if the size of the shoe print is the same as the size shoe that BK would have worn, it could be one more piece in the puzzle that is making up the circumstantial case. Now, Wood and Taylor and the defense team have mentioned this shoe or the lack of finding the shoes in one of their motions if there was not a match. What do you think? If you haven't checked out my live stream where I go through Exhibit A, you will want to watch this next. We're talking a lot about the affidavit. We're also going into more detail about Officer Brett Payne and the Vans shoe print. So most stalkers are fairly intelligent. They will carefully plan their stalking tactics. And in this case, we believe that BK was sitting in the apartment parking lot that was located right behind the 1122 King Road residence and was peeping down into the windows. We also believe that he may have been using digital cameras to spy on victims, and this digital camera is more speculative. I have not found any hard concrete proof to back this up. Law enforcement believes that BK did make a female friend, as I shared with you last week, and he made himself available to her, befriended her, tended her, befriended her, and he reportedly installed security cameras in her home. So he would have been able to get her Wi-Fi passcode from her at this time, and he reportedly used these cameras to spy on her. So I shared with you the possibility that BK was using police body cam and dash cam footage to spy on people. And we know WSU had a CSI room that had access to 5 different law enforcement agencies, dash cam and body cam, but it did not have access to the Moscow PD. They were not participating in this, probably because they're not in the state of Washington. But for someone like BK, a voyeur, if you will, this would have been an awesome opportunity for him to feel power over other people. Also, creepers and peeping toms, they like to plan out their crimes. They're intelligent, but they tend to lack basic social skills and basic social intelligence. And we can see this coming into play with BK and his interactions with both his professors at WSU and the students he was grading. So he was trying to get himself back on track. I'm sure he wanted to finish out his position as a teaching assistant while pursuing his PhD, but I suspect he lacked both social skills and social awareness. So what compelled BK to ultimately turn on his obsession? Well, stalkers can become obsessed, and ultimately they can become vengeful, and the escalation from peeping Tom to more extreme behaviors can happen very quickly because stalkers are primarily motivated by revenge. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Please subscribe